You're about to watch an interview that was not meant to be on YouTube. For months, I ran a paid mentorship community where I recorded deep dive interviews with successful Airbnb business owners. They weren't surface level conversations. We went behind the scenes of their Airbnb businesses, revealing the exact strategies and also the tools that they use to grow. This is the kind of stuff that most people don't talk about. But after shutting down the community, I realized that these interviews were just too good to keep locked up. So now I'm going to release them on my YouTube channel for free. If you don't know me yet, my name is Preston. I've been in real estate for over 7 years, and I built a portfolio worth $15 million, and my Airbnbs bring in over $400,000 per year in net profit. And by the way, if you're interested in starting with Airbnbs, you can book a free one-on-one call consultation with my team and ask any questions you want. We're offering this for a limited time and there are limited spots. You can apply with the link in the description. Today's interview is one of my favorites. It's with Sarah and Nico. They're high school friends turned into business partners. We're going to be going into the specifics on how they teamed up without holding anything back. And in this video, you're also going to learn how they found their first deal, their exact revenue numbers, and why their partnership worked and how you can set up something similar. With that being said, let's dive in. All right, we got Sarah and Nico here. They're our business partners, absolutely crushing it in the Airbnb space. And so wanted to bring them on because they, will have some valuable insights for us as they gone along this journey. So before we kind of get into all the numbers and your properties and all that, if you want to give us, your backgrounds on, how you got started, what you do for your day job, and we'll go from there, guys.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having us, Preston. I appreciate that. So Sarah and I have an interesting dynamic. We actually went to high school together. We actually were in a relationship in high school. And then after high school, we kind of went our separate ways, but Sarah and I have always kind of found each other in similar paths. So we ended up in sales, then we actually ended up in the same digital marketing mastermind. And then we figured each other out hey, we're both doing digital marketing. How are we doing that? And then we got further into sales, high ticket sales with some big offers in the space. And, we just finally realized that, we're both on the same entrepreneurial path. We both have really good strengths and weaknesses that complement each other. We work well together. We get along. We're really good friends. And we both just want to develop multiple streams of passive income. So it just seemed like a match made in heaven. I bought your program, and then I called her 2 days later to talk about it. And she's like, I've got all this cash in the bank. It's not making money. Let's do this. And then that's literally how it formed. I know a lot of people are a little bit, have different opinion on should you have a business partner. And I knew it was the right fit. And, we pick our battles. We agree on things, we disagree on things, but we're always keeping it moving and focusing on the bigger picture. So now we're here and we got our first property. We're excited about it.
Love to see it. Yeah, so I think that's something that I want to unpack a little bit, partnerships, because there's a lot of partnerships that don't work out. I would say a majority of them don't work out. And so how have you guys, and it seems like you guys have stemmed back from, to high school of this partnership working well. So what are some of, the tips that you guys could share on what makes a successful partnership?
Well, I think there has to be a mindset too, where both of your mindsets are in alignment of what's the ultimate goal. And we always go back to, do we want to be right or do we want to win? So for example, when we got this property, I'm in the property right now, and that Airbnb, and she lives in California where we grew up, and I live up here in Oregon. And she flew out. We kind of got the property ready to go, and there was a lot of things we agreed on and some things we disagreed on, and we're both just really just mature about it, and we pick our battles. So there were some things where I was like, I don't really like where you placed this piece of furniture, and she really liked it there, and I was like, am I really going to argue over this where a couch is? What ultimately matters is the experience for the guest, not where I think the couch should go in a certain corner. So as long as you're just mature enough, kind of think about a business partnership is also a relationship. And if you're just both mature and you're both just focusing on the bigger picture, and it's making money, getting an ROI so we can reinvest into another property, when you just focus on the bigger picture, I think everything just works out. I think, but with that being said, you also have to make sure that there are strengths and weaknesses. For me, I've made a lot of money, but I spend it all. I'm terrible with my money. Sarah is the complete opposite. She's very good. We call her Saver Sarah for a reason. So she was really good at being like, hey dude, we don't need to spend $9,000 on a jacuzzi. Let's look at these budget ones first. And I was ready to jump in on it. And sometimes that gets you in trouble, and we made the right decision. So little things like that, when you can say you know what, I suck at these things and she's really good at it. So we need to marry that, and I can own that and just focus on what are my skill sets and what are her skill sets, and just focus on that. And again, going back to focusing on the bigger picture. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting dynamic that we have. I mean, we've known each other for over a decade, and because we have had that relationship in the past, I think it's really taught us how to communicate well with each other, and that my friendship with Nico is more important than anything for me. And I realized that, like he said, we have to pick and choose our battles, and there's strengths that he has where I'm like, hey, I'm going to follow your lead on this. I trust your judgment. And there's certain things that I'm good at. And we've just, over the years, we've realized how to communicate and how to work with each other. And we've formed that bond, for 15 years. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's something that, this is something I've been thinking about because I was at this Dean Graziosi event. I'm sure you guys know him, being in the digital marketing space, partners with Tony Robbins. He mentioned something interesting about partnerships. He said that the best partnerships don't keep score. And I've kind of like going to different partnerships that have been successful either in my own life or other people's lives. Would you say that resonates with you guys, like not keeping score?
I would say so. Like, I think naturally I like to, like, it goes back to the strengths, right? Like naturally I like to lead, and Sarah is okay with that. But if I'm leading in possibly a wrong direction, I'm not perfect. She's more than willing to communicate that and say like, hey, we need to pump the brakes here. So there is no score. I'm cool. Like at the end of the day, we both want to win. So if I do 65% of the work and she does 50, I don't care that I did a little bit more. I'm not going to complain about it. Like this used to be 50-50. Again, it always goes back to everybody listening. Do you want to be right or do you want to win? And we always want to win, primarily first in our relationship so we can keep that healthy and just be friends for decades and decades to come. But also that translates into winning in business.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what Nico's saying. I think that I can't harp on it enough that like our friendship means more than anything. So I think that just having that prior communication is detrimental in like the health and growth of this business. I definitely think that we've talked about, like getting an operating agreement and just like making sure that like no matter what happens in this business partnership, that there's always going to be, they're always going to like manage this business properly. And I just think that just making sure that we all feel safe and we all feel secure and like there's always an open line of communication. That's really all that I can ask for. I mean, and even in business partnerships, intimate relationships, it's like communication is the number one thing. If you don't communicate with each other and say, there's sometimes I tell Nico like, hey, I feel like I need a little bit more attention in this area. Can we talk about this? And we've just really been able to develop that like vulnerability with each other. And that's, I think, what's going to really help this relationship grow and business grow.
Love it. Yeah, we could talk about this for, hours, and I'm sure, that was super helpful for you guys. So, but let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk, go more into how you found your first Airbnb market. So Nico, maybe you want to kind of touch on how you were able to land on the specific market that you're currently in, and maybe what are some of the challenges that you faced while selecting that market, and then how did you overcome, that analysis paralysis?
Yeah, so we are currently, we're about 2 months into our first property. We're in the Salem, Oregon market, and we spent, we set a schedule in the sense of like, hey, we both got other jobs and other things that we're doing, but every Saturday and every Sunday we're going to meet for at least an hour, and whether we get anything done, like we're going to at least connect and show FaceTime, so we're at least putting time into the business. And of course, then we plan things out like this is what we're going to accomplish on this day. But fast forward, you provided a lot of good data and spreadsheets, and you had a lot of good insight on like, hey, these markets in Oregon do have an occupancy rate, and that was really helpful for us. But then what we found is, there's so many good markets, and you can get into that analysis paralysis. And it got to the point where we were like, you know what, dude, let's just get one. And so we just took action. So basically how we found this first property, and I've got a lot of experience, years of cold calling and talking to, and I worked in real estate and managed an inside sales team for a real estate company. So that's why I knew this was the right business for me, because I used to call for rent by owners and try to, like landlords try to rent their property and try to convince them to meet with a listing agent to sell their property. So I can call them to be their tenant. But the funny thing is, I actually reached out to my network, and that's how I found our first property. So I really encourage everybody listening is reach out to your network. I reached out to all my buddies that were in real estate, all the realtors I know in the area, and I said, hey, I'm doing this. I own a housing company and a rental company and property management company. It's called Remote Housing Solutions. If you have any listings that expire and you're like, man, I spent 6 months on this listing, it expired, and I wasted all this money and all this time, I didn't make any money. I said, how about you have me as a contingency plan? Tell them that, because a lot of these expired listings, these owners want to rent their house out because they need someone to pay their mortgage. So I said, send them over to me. So my buddy Kevin, he's a realtor here in Salem, Oregon. He's a hustler. As soon as I told him that, he's kind of like a smart guy. He had a listing expire. It's a condo here in a fourplex, and he just connected me with the owner, and he set up a meeting. We all sat down at the table and we closed the sale. He was really intrigued about the business model, like how a lot of landlords, I don't think, really know what this all is, which is good, because if you know how to communicate it properly and the benefit for them versus a traditional long-term tenant, they can really see the value. So that's not saying we're not following the process. We have 3 deals in the pipeline, not closed yet. One on the coast, one in Portland, and one out in the Mount Hood area, somewhere out in the sticks. That's all from cold calling. But if it weren't for us just simply reaching out to our network, we would not have this deal right now. And, we're really blessed. It's done really well. We're at 90% occupancy guarantee a first month and the second month. But that's really what I want to get across to people is just make sure that you're reaching out to friends, family, and we can unpack more of this later. But I've even landed some property management clients just as a result of reaching out to my network. So that's how we landed this deal. And now we're following your process and the training of reaching out to landlords, expressing the benefit and closing deals that way. That's how we're really going to grow the business.
Yeah, I love that. And because a lot of people, because, even you, someone that had that cold calling experience, got caught in the analysis paralysis, like so many different markets I could go in, but you just said, you know what, I'm just going to choose this one market. You just started reaching out to your network, reaching out to landlords. And now, people are going to say, oh, you got lucky. But now you have all these different deals in the pipeline and you created that luck for yourself.
Yep. It's just from taking action. That's why I tell everybody, just fail forward. Just do it. And we talked about this the other day, Sarah. We were like, that just happened in like 3.5 weeks. Like we've got this whole place furnished. There's people coming in and out of here. And we didn't even think about it. Once we had a referral, we just jumped on it. And then 3.5 weeks later, we're making money. And it's just crazy. And that all came from just deciding like, we're just going to do it. We're going to stop thinking about it. We're going to stop looking at the occupancy rates and what's the perfect market. Just do it. And it's also been a learning experience for us. And now we're really feel confident and ready to move into those 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom plus properties. And that's what we're on the hunt for right now.
Love that. Okay. So maybe talk to us about, because I think someone hears the word cold calling and like 99% of people just freeze and like, I cannot do that. So maybe talk to us about what were some of the, different tactics that you use to, feel more comfortable on the phones and get the landlords that, a lot of these people have never heard of this business model and get them to be comfortable with something like this arrangement.
I'll tell you this, and I want to speak to somebody who does sales coaching for a living. This is not, I understand the word cold calling is, it sounds really scary. This is not like, it is cold calling, but it's not. Cold calling, that in my experience is, you get people that are just not happy to hear from you, or you're just reaching out to people to try to get them to know about your business. You're calling landlords who are actively trying to rent their property. And you're calling and saying, hey, I want to be your tenant, but I'm not your traditional tenant, but I'll be the best tenant you ever had. I haven't had one bad phone call. I've had guys and some women who are the type A personalities, where they're just like, get to the point. No one's been rude to me. So don't get so caught up in the cold calling. These aren't random homeowners that you just knocked on their door and you're trying to convince them to let you arbitrage their property. These are people that have already expressed an interest in renting their property. And as long as you're confident and sure of what you're doing and what you're saying, like they'll hear you out. You're not going to get a yes on every call, because a lot of these landlords, they don't know what they don't know. But if you're just cool, calm, sharp as a tack, you know your worth and you know what you're talking about, they will hear you out. Just get the reps in. Because I'll tell you this, if this is cold calling, I will do this all day, because this is not the experience of cold calling that I've had in the past, or telemarketing or anything like that. Every landlord I've talked to has either been very pleasant or it's just been very pert and want to get straight to the point, but it's been like, hey, this doesn't sound like it's for me, or, hey, I'm interested in hearing more. Like, let's set up a meeting, or can you send me an email proposal about what you guys do? So don't be afraid of the cold calling. This is not like what you think it is. It's a lot easier than you think. And when you just make that first call and you get the butterflies out and you talk to your first landlord, you're going to be like, I can't believe I was even pushing this off for 1 to 2 weeks. This isn't even that bad. And on top of that, you are coming off as an owner. You own your short-term rental management company. So with that said too, landlords and people in general like to talk to owners. It's kind of like when you're a general manager at a company and you're just the customer service rep, people like speaking to the manager. They're a lot more respectful. And so have that mindset as you're the owner of a company, you're the CEO. So own that. And when you're talking to these landlords, they see you as that. So whatever your perception may be doesn't always make it true. They may actually perceive you as an authority, and knowing that, going with that confidence and be like, I'm providing a good service here. I'm the owner of a company. I'm going to work harder than any property management company you've ever worked for. And here's why. So just make that first call and you're going to feel really good about it. And it's going to make the next call easier and the next call easier.
I also want to touch on that is that, Nico's also drummed up conversations by just messaging people and asking if they accept corporate leases. People are like, a corporate lease? Like, what's that? And then you can open up that conversation line. I mean, I work in sales right now, and I'd say 90% of the business and the sales that I make is all through emails and text messaging. Like, I don't even talk to people on the phone that much in the sales role that I'm in now. And so don't think that that's just cold calling that needs to be done. I challenge you to message people on Zillow and ask if they accept corporate leases. I mean, if you're not confident on the phone, that's not going to break this business for you.
Yeah. And, I have a sales background as well. So like you guys are speaking my language, but a lot of people, might not have that. And it's interesting, a couple of things, Nico, what you were saying, when I was working my W-2 job, worked in software sales, me as a sales rep, would try to reach out to some of these executives of these, big companies, and they want to give me the time of day. But, when eventually, we're getting a deal, and then I would say, hey, like I can actually bring on my director, and then you have similar titles, then of course, like the deal, pushes over the line. So like you said, you just own it. And that also gives you the confidence that I'm the CEO of this company. And then you're kind of speaking to peer instead of you're speaking tenant to, landlord that has these massive properties, right? And so I think there's a psychological thing that happens as well when they're speaking to owner, like you mentioned. And I think that's really powerful in, helping you build that confidence, number one, but number two, getting that deal over the line.
Totally. And Sarah made a great point, and Preston, you did too. That's exactly what I was saying is tenant to landlord, they're the authority, right? They have the thing, the tangible item that you need. But we're talking like when it's this situation, it's owner to landlord, which is kind of like you said, owner to owner. And Sarah, I can't believe I even forgot to bring that up too. Sarah and I created a template, and I just hit every property that looks profitable in a certain market. I just go on Zillow to the listing, hit them, send to like 10 or 20 of them. And eventually I'll get one or two responses that are like, yeah, that's interesting. Like, give me a call. Like, I'm interested in hearing more about this. So if you're still gun shy or just frozen at making that first call, that's the next best thing. Like Preston, as someone who's worked in SaaS, and Sarah, someone who's been in sales for a long time, the phone is the best thing. But if you need some more confidence, send them a message, and that probably takes me like 10 minutes to send like 20 messages using a template, and it works really well.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. And Sarah, we want to bring you on to this conversation because I'm sure you're the one that had the biggest say in, the design of furniture. And the number one thing right now, in experience or creating a successful Airbnb is having a killer design and having, those amenities to go along with it to create that experience for your guests. So talk to us about, and maybe Nico, you can share your screen on what your listing looks like. But if you can talk us through kind of your thought process on how you designed this property.
Yeah. So when Nico brought this one to me, it was partially furnished. Now, when we went into the property, I was like, wow, this stuff is really dated. It's almost kind of like Goodwill just like threw up on the property. And I was like, all right, we need to like work some things out. So we wanted to work with what we had. So we kind of, when I went to the property, I was like, all right, we have a red couch and we have these black chairs. Stark contrast. I said, what can we do with this room to make it fun? Let's put a Pac-Man machine in there, right? So we went and got a Pac-Man machine. We got some area rugs to kind of tie in the red couch and just kind of made it like a fun game room type of vibe. Really, again, partially furnished. So what we really bought in this living room space was the rug and the Pac-Man machine and the TV as well, and some things like that. So pretty simple design, but I just really wanted to kind of work off of that red couch because that was the wow factor. In some other rooms, the kitchen's pretty basic. We just got a really nice coffee pot. We also got a really nice coffee bar. I don't think we actually have pictures of the coffee bar. I think that was added after the photographer came. But we have this like really cute coffee bar where we have, individual wrapped coffees, and we have like an area for all the mugs and individual creamers, and just kind of made it really feel like a nice, like a very like hotel experience. So again, a lot of this furniture came with it. We had this random purple and lime green wall that kind of reminded me of like Barney. And I was like, that has got to go. So Nico and I actually spent one Saturday night, until midnight painting. We got this really cool, design from Home Goods and a nice white table. I just wanted to feel really like kind of modern and brighten it up. One thing I did struggle with, I will say, is, like being kind of type A, I wanted to like come in and like rip up the carpets and like repaint everything and just like make everything look super nice and modern. We didn't have the time to do that. So we just really had to work with what we had. This room, we kind of took a bunch of different furniture that was around the house since it was already partially furnished and saw what would go well together. I was like, let's make a gallery wall. So we had a really cool gallery wall. We had this like old grass bed as well, and just kind of like really made it feel like kind of antique-y in there. And then we have our other bedroom as well, which is more of like a modern kind of white vibe. Yeah, so this is really, really nice. There's like a deck that goes off of it as well. But this one, this bedroom, we just kind of started from scratch and just, tried to create like a very light, airy vibe in there. with the budget that we had in mind for the property. Also, that was a big thing, is the market that we were in. We were like, we don't want to spend more than like $8,000 and we need a hot tub, you know? So it's like, let's try to prioritize certain things in this property. The bathroom is actually one of my favorites because we decided to put like little rolled up towels on the bathroom, and I think it makes it feel like very hotel vibe. But it was a lot of fun shopping for the property. I'm just trying to play with shapes and, you know, just try to work with what we had and the lighting we had. So yeah, this is our picture of our hot tub here. We actually need to have the photographer come back out again to do new photos. But our backyard, I think, really is the wow factor. You know, we have a 3-person hot tub right there, right by the deck. On the deck, we have a fire pit, which is incredible. We have a grill. We have a nice table with an umbrella. So it's like going to be a really nice place for you to hang out outside. And I think that this is kind of the wow factor that brings people to the property.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's one thing that a lot of people kind of overlook. You know, they kind of get into these plain Jane, you know, type houses and try to, you know, put Craigslist furniture into the property and, you know, make it work. And they're like, why aren't I getting bookings? But like you said, you guys you're right like next to a river, you know, have, you know, this incredible design that you guys created, along with like, this is going to be the centerpiece, is the backyard with the hot tub and the string lights and the fire pit right next to it. You have to think about it from the perspective of, if I were booking on Airbnb right now, like what makes me want to choose this property over others? And if you can't really come up with a good reason why you would choose yours over another, then like it's you're probably going to be in a losing battle. But, you know, it seems like you guys were able to take, you know, some of the furniture pieces that were already there and, you know, create it, you know, obviously get some of your own. So what was like the, you know, financial cost of, you know, getting your property completely set up with all the designs and everything that you added?
So it's actually that we use the budgeting template that you provided, which is incredible. But I kind of customized it a little bit just because it was partially furnished. I kind of put everything on one page instead of doing each room like you have it. If we had a completely bare property, I would have kept it the way that it was. But I put everything from like my flight to Portland from LA in there. We came out to what, 7,600?
Yep, just a little bit over.
Yeah, so that's totally everything, you know, giving a referral fee to the realtor that found the property, Kevin, for us, you know, and referred us on over, you know. So there was a lot of stuff that the property that we used, like the couch and such. But yeah, so just shy of 8,000, 7,600 to be exact. And that's all in. That's like, you know, the first month and deposit and all the furniture.
A lot of people say, you know, is it actually possible to furnish a place with, you know, 10 grand and you even add your flights, like you know, went the extra mile to like that down to the penny, and your nicknames as Saver Sarah is coming. Yeah. You know, coming out right now. But yeah, I mean, love that. Like you can, as long as you find the right place, and obviously like the bigger property you get, the more expenses you're going to have, because you know, with a bigger house comes more expenses, but it's definitely doable, and you guys are living proof of that. That's awesome. But I want to kind of shift gears a little bit on now the operations side of the business, because when I first was looking into going to the short-term rental game, I was like, well, like, how am I going to coordinate all the cleaners? How am I going to manage all these calendars? And all these different scenarios started popping into my head, and it's got overwhelmed, and it's kind of put it off for years. So how are you guys, you know, optimizing and streamlining your business with your boots on the ground team, namely your cleaners, handymen, and so forth?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. And so we like to do things a certain way. So to any of the listeners here, like, you can do it your own way. I like to be involved. So we do have a cleaner that is part-time, but I actually will come in and oversee the cleaner. I like to maintain the hot tub myself. But one thing is, it's kind of like my brainchild. I love the chemicals and shocking it and kind of like putting the strip back in and be like, oh, it's perfect. The pH level, the chlorine, it's great. But that's just me. I know a lot of people, especially in your community too, that it's you too, Preston, like it's all hands off. Like you've got a whole system for it. So in terms of the guest messaging, it's so minimal amount of time, right? Like we have a template. Every time we get a booking, we like to wait like 20 minutes so it seems authentic, and we send out our template. So it's like, oh, they just saw that we booked, and we send it out. And then, you know, the day of, we send the check-in instructions. Like 2 days into the booking, I'll send like a quick little follow-up. It's really basic. So even if you have a full-time job, like this is not a lot of work, especially if you don't want to be involved at all and you've got cleaners coming for every visit. I'm kind of I got a bunch of side hustles going on all the time. So I live about an hour from the property, but I do work out here in Salem with some real estate brokerages, and then I like to be involved. So sometimes if the cleaner can't come, I'll clean it myself. And then I'm like, hey, cool, it's extra money for me on the cleaner's fee, right? So I don't mind it. It's therapeutic for me. I like taking care of the hot tub. I always go all in, 110% everything that I do. So I like walking out of the store being like, okay, I did the final check. It looks good, but it really doesn't take up that much time. It hasn't stressed me out at all. It's super easy. As long as you're kind of on top of things and prioritizing your time, it's really stressful. really is.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are looking to scale, right? And so as you guys continue to scale, this model to other properties, like what's kind of your game plan to, and obviously you can't go and clean all these, if you have 5 houses, you can't go and clean all of them. So what's kind of your plan to, kind of build that foundation to be able to scale and grow?
Yeah, it's funny. We're talking about this too, because like Sarah's like, when we get that 4-bedroom, are you going to clean that? And I was like, absolutely not. So yeah, so we're gonna definitely. That's why we want to keep things local, even though we're ready to take one out of state because you have a great process on how to get that done in the program and in the training. So we're ready for that too. But for the time being, we just want to have one property in every really good market here. So what our strategy is, and luckily for us, some of the best markets are only like an hour in each direction from where I live. So, but the strategy is going to be, we're going to have cleaner. We're not really confident in a cleaning company. We want to have someone who's like off Thumbtack or some of the sites that you recommended, someone who's going to be dedicated to the property. Because if we're expecting, AirDNA, for example, was expecting like a 70% occupancy rate for our property, and we're at like 90% every month. So knowing that, we're going to have a system of cleaners that are going to clean every single time, especially if the house gets bigger. And then my plan is to have some sort of helper or an errand runner that I can hire like off Craigslist or Thumbtack to be able to oversee it. And then my plan, because my schedule is my own, is to be able to go out there and oversee it. So that's our process for right now. And then eventually, we just want to make sure that for this property, we want to get our return on investment as soon as possible. So for us, this being a 2-bedroom condo, it's not going to produce cash flow like a 4-bedroom house. So for us, that's why I'm willing to come in here and do the cleanings, because when the cleaner's not being able to come out here, because then that's more money that's in our pocket and getting an ROI a little bit faster. But obviously we know that that's not scalable. So
yeah, I think it's also important to notice that, and important to note, like look at people's cleaning fees. It's almost kind of like Airbnb property owners are just constantly trying to like undercut everybody else the cleaning fee. So when I was on Thumbtack and I was kind of doing some research trying to find us a cleaner, I was kind of coming into a problem where I noticed that some of the cleaners were coming in higher than what our competitors were charging for a cleaning fee. So, also something to note. And I mean, who knows? The sky's the limit. Like if we continue building our portfolio, we may start our own cleaning company, and hire from there. Like, I've seen people do that, and I, I'm not going to put that past us.
So let's get to what, everyone, likes to get into the weeds of it, the actual financials. So I know you've been live for a couple months. You guys, it sounds like it's been doing great. Do you have, some of the numbers of what your property is looking like? So a couple questions. So number one, have your properties performed in the last couple months? When is peak season? And then what do you expect it to do, from like a 12-month average?
So our first month was last month. So we launched April 4th. And we started getting bookings immediately. And I feel like the algorithm on Airbnb.
We had 4 the first day we launched.
Yeah. So I think the algorithm was in our favor too. And plus we just had, and I can't stress this enough, side note, get photography, guys. Listen to Preston. Don't do it on your iPhone. The photography is what took it to the next level, because all of our competitors with comparable properties had horrible photos. But last month we netted after expenses, I think $1,000 was it? And we're going to do a little bit more this month. And just so everybody here knows, I think a lot of people get scared of like, if it doesn't book, am I going to be able to pay the rent? Our rent is already paid through August. So we already have a lot of bookings through August, and it's already like the rent's already covered. We're paying $1,650, and that includes negotiating with the landlord. 300 of the HOA is included. So the landlord's netting like $1,350, and then our utilities is only gas and electric. So, but June, our peak season is going to be June, July, August, September. Slow season is January, February. So that's when we're going to start preparing, probably November, for the midterm rentals, trying to get some like traveling nurses, or because this is the capital of Oregon we're in too, in Salem, and there's a lot of government buildings around here. June is already looking like it's going to be, we're going to 2 to 3x what we did in April. So June, we've already generated gross close to $4,500 in revenue. And
I have the numbers right here. So actually in April, we did $37.15. So minus 16 minus the cleaning fees. So we probably netted like 15, 16 maybe. And then this month we're so far at 3,000. We still have some availability. June we're at 41.58 again, and our rent is 16.50. So, and then June, July, we still have a lot of openings, but we also have the rent at least covered those months. So, everything from here on out is going to be profit. So,
I mean, it sounds like you guys are, crushing it with this property, and now you kind of got that proof of concept. Now you're like, okay, that just put, gasoline to the fire, continue scaling. So what's kind of your goals for the end of this year? I know you mentioned, tease a little bit that you're working on a few deals that are in the pipeline. So what's kind of your ultimate end goal here by the end of this year, and maybe like in the next few years?
Well, definitely want to have 4 properties at a minimum by the end of the year. There's plenty of time. Like if you talk to the right person, you can get a property tomorrow as long as you're doing the thing, which is income generating activities, which is making the calls, making the reaching out to your network and messaging people. So at the minimum, we'd like to have 4, but we're not, and like this property was great. It was a good learning experience. It was a smaller one. We got our feet wet. We've made mistakes. We've learned along the way. That's why we feel so confident just in our abilities, but from what we've learned from this property that we're like, we're going for it. Like and that's what I love about, Sarah too, is even though she is Saver Sarah, like we make a joke, but Sarah's still an action taker too. And I only want to be doing business with action takers. So she's like, we're looking at like Hermosa Beach, right? It's like, we could get a few 2-3 bedroom homes, but why not just get a banger? That's what we keep calling it. We're going to get a banger. Like that's why we're looking at one on the coast that, hey, the rent might be $4,000, but
it's going to net a $2,000 each, it's like, going to be the same amount of work, but now that the proof of concept, now that we know that we can do it, we want to go for those scarier, bigger fish, and then kind of be like, all right, well, yeah, maybe our rent's $4,000, maybe it's going to cost us $20,000 to get in, but we're going to be profiting $3,000-$4,000 a month each. So at that point, it's like, why not go for it and just really, really go for it? Because at that point, we only need a few doors. Well, we could keep going, but like really only need a few doors to like actually make 6 figures a year each.
And that's what we're foreseeing for the future. So we're going big, and again, we're going to learn from that, but we're ready to go all in on the big ones. And we felt like, Sarah really explained it to me the same way too. It's like, it's pretty much the same amount of work. So why not just go for the big one too? And on top of that, what's really been neat about just this whole experience is like getting to just stay in your own properties. Like I got to enjoy my hot tub with my coffee at like 5 a.m, and like we get one on the coast, like that's going to be cool too. And your parents can come out, your friends can come out, and we get to make money. So it's a great thing. But yeah, we're getting to the point where we'd like to be netting $10,000 a month each. I know 10K is always a super cliche number, but ultimately the number is 20K. But we'd like to be at 10K where, Sarah can ultimately, she has a great career and she loves her job, but of course she's not going to say no to the idea of being able to leave corporate America. And then both of us are just going in on this full time.
Love that. And, it's interesting as I'm kind of hearing your guys' dynamic. Like if a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to partner because I want to keep 100%. But if you guys can go, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times further by having this partnership, and you're going to go way faster than you could go by yourself. And so that's something that, a lot of people, are attracted to partnerships, but in practice, it might not really work out that way. So I love that the dynamic between you two, and like the goals that you have for yourselves, you're very much aligned on where you guys want to be, where eventually, and how you also get there as well. It's incredibly important. So it's really cool to see your guys' dynamic.
Well, 100% of the profit, but you also get 100% of the risk as well. So what's great about having a partnership is you split the profits, right? But you're also splitting the risk, and you have accountability, so if you're an extremely self-motivated person, and even the most self-motivated people sometimes can fall off, if you find the right person, like I have with Sarah and her with me, the profit, again, it's not about, the profit, you can have 100% of it, but if we just get 4 or 5 properties, then it's not that big of a deal that we're splitting the profit and we're splitting the risk and we're splitting the work. And for me and her, it's just a way better dynamic that way, but to each their own.
It's the division too. It's like, I came in with a capital, right? And like I came in with a design, and I really wanted to like kind of help orchestrate everything up the launch, but I have a full-time job. So, now at this point, I am taking a back seat. I haven't sent one message. Like Nico is handling everything. Nico's, coordinating cleaners, and just now I really do feel like a silent investor, so it was fun at first. And it's like, I may have invested the capital, but Nico has done everything. He's the boots on the ground there. He's been orchestrating everything, and making it happen. So I don't feel shortchanged at all. I really feel like we have a strong partnership.
Okay. So before we, wrap things up here, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to, new entrepreneurs trying to start this business or just any business in general? Because obviously, it sounds like this is like a big passion for you guys. So Sarah, if you want to start first.
Yeah. I think you have got to want better for yourself. I think you really have to kind of tie, why are you doing this? And I know that maybe sound a little bit cliche, but I think that you truly can have it all. Like you truly can have the lifestyle that you want. It's just fear is holding you back. And if you're okay not doing a business and not starting a business and not having passive income, and that's totally okay. To each their own. This isn't for everybody. And I've always said that. But people that do want to and aspire to grow and to do more and to be better, and you just got to try it. like Nico says, you fail forward. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, kind of a unique situation, working with my partner or my boyfriend from high school, and I was like, honestly, I said, I know this is an interesting dynamic, but I almost feel like I'm going to regret it if I don't do it. I'm going to regret, like, if I lose $10,000, I lose $10,000. But the fact of like not knowing if I'm going to actually like fail or succeed, it would hurt more than the cost of losing money. Like, money comes and goes, but like, you only have one life to live.
Well said. Yeah. For me, I'm just going to be blunt. Like, stop making excuses for yourself. Invest in yourself. I'll say this. I've bought courses for like $5,000 that I've never even pursued. But you know what? I'm going to do it eventually. And I invested in myself. I took a shot in myself, which is more than some people have done in their entire lives. So stop dipping your toes in the water, dive into the freaking pool. $2,000 is $2,000, $5,000 is $5,000. But when you're on your deathbed, are you going to be happy you didn't spend that $2,000 on that program? Or are you going to be pissed off that you didn't do it? So stop making excuses for yourself. Stop having shiny object syndrome. Oh, I want to get into affiliate marketing. Oh, this is work. Maybe I'll find that one thing that pays me $10,000 a month and I do nothing. It doesn't exist. I promise you. Preston would be doing it. Everybody would be doing it. We would be doing it. This magic gem that you're looking for does not exist. And you have to just be okay with that. So find something that you like to do. Sarah and I invested in digital marketing. We spent thousands of dollars to get into that mastermind and we made money. We built websites for companies. We did SEO and AdWords, but we don't really like it. It ended up not being our passion. So we scrapped it. And Sarah, looked at it, it's like, you know what? Nick's really passionate about Airbnb and real estate. I've got money. Let's do this. It worked out. So just stop having shiny object syndrome. Stop expecting something to be easy. It's never going to be easy. And frankly, when you get into it, it's not that hard. But if you're just like, oh, I want to make money, I want to make passive income, but you're just working full time and you come home and you just like spend 2 hours on your phone, like, what are you doing? Just prioritize your time. If you're not self-motivated, get a partner, get into a community like this one, surround yourself with people, because proximity is power. As Tony Robbins, who you're talking about, Dean and Tony would say, who you hang out with, since your parents have told you since you were a kid, you are a direct product of the people that you hang out with. So surround yourself with entrepreneurs and A players and watch how your income and your career changes.
Mic drop. Man, love it. Guys, thank you so much for hopping on, and the perspective you guys shared, super valuable, from the partnerships to your property you're crushing and your long-term goals. You guys are, I'm super excited to check with you guys in here in a few months just to see where you guys are at. Thank you again for dropping the bombs, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, and Preston, just thanks so much for everything that you've done here, man, this community, this course. And I want to tell you, from someone who's bought so many courses, I told Sarah, this is the best course I've ever done. You literally actually do things step by step, even like the ticky-tacky things, which most people don't do. You literally go over like the tiniest little details. And it was the best course for the best value I have ever invested in. And I've spent like $50,000 on courses and masterminds. So thank you. And then also shout out to Coach Sam for helping us with this property, telling us what we needed to be to make a good cash on cash return over about 3 or 4 years. If it wasn't for Coach Sam overseeing this property, we wouldn't have got this deal done. So I appreciate you and Coach Sam. Just want to give him a proper shout out.
Yeah, it was great. Honestly, I love all the spreadsheets. Fantastic. I love how granular you get in the training. Really helpful.
Really means a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
If you're tired of watching others succeed with Airbnb and you're serious about building your own business, me and my team can help you make that happen. If you're interested, click the link below to apply for a free consultation. We'll set up a time to chat about how we can work together to build your Airbnb business and scale to $10,000 per month and beyond. This isn't a sales call or anything like that. On this call, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you some questions to really understand if this real estate model is going to be the right move for you. You can ask any questions that you have as well. The link to apply is right below in the description. All right, with that being said, we'll see you in the next video.